good. Is it afternoon? It's afternoon, and I need a shower because my hair is gross. But welcome to the 8th episode of The Letter. I just finished up Marianne's chapter. We're about to finish up Marianne's chapter. I just did the first half of it. And I'm pretty sure that's going to make this the 4th chapter. So after this episode, we only have 3 more chapters to go. That's pretty exciting. So my puppy says hi. Say hi, Teddy. Say hi, baby. Say hi, baby. And Ellie says hi. And Jenny says hi. Alright, so let's just jump into it, I guess. The one in the study. And in it, I see her. Okay. I see them. Lorraine and Hannah. Hannah and Lorraine. Which is which? They're both so similar.
Oh, pathetic Marianne. Work. She'll work herself to death. See, she doesn't listen. That's all she did. Look at what happened to me.
They talk amongst themselves with cruel smiles and venomous tongues. Or rather, to themselves. 2 heads, 1 body. A horrible mockery of these women as if they were the one and the same.
More's the pity. Life goes on and goes out, and she doesn't even see it. Do you think she'll even realize when she's kicked the bucket herself?
When they say a person has a hard time telling when they're in a dream, it's true often enough. Even with this bizarre sight, even with the obvious implication that this isn't real, I can't help but feel the stress.
Likely. Is that any way to live at all? She might as well be dead. Cruel fate that she's alive and I'm... well...
Though they speak into each other's ears, tones low and hushed, I can still hear them as clear as day. Their whispers pervade the air, heavy and oppressive. They bury and dig into my head like tiny maggots, worming their way into my skull. It is only then that they take notice of my presence. Ooh, don't look at me. Don't look at me. Eyes turn towards me, and I can only feel small under their scrutiny. Caricature smiles etch on their faces, mimicking each other grotesquely.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie? Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is. Have you been looking at us? Spying? How scandalous. Such a naughty girl. I'm sure you were just waiting for something lewd to happen, weren't you? You know she will not admit it. She thinks it wrong. You've said it so yourself. Yes. She thought me wrong, impure, abnormal, because I loved her.
My breath hitches and I open my mouth to protest, but they stop me, screeching. The mirror that holds them cracks, lines spidering across its surface.
Do not lie. We know the gluttonous thoughts you try to deny, girl. All those desires you bury beneath that sickening guilt. You act the martyr when you turn the bed you lie in into your own hedonistic hell. You are nothing but a tainted soul with filth-stained flesh held together by falsehood and pride.
They look livid, and when it looks like they would lunge, I wake, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. Shut up, Teddy! With a groan, I squint and find a certain fluff ball sitting on my chest, looking as pleased as Punch. Aww, she's the overlady of the cats, queen of despair and destruction of nice furniture. Though I can't stay mad at her majesty because it feels like she did something good this time. I was having a nightmare, but I can't remember what it was about. Trying to recall leaves a terrible pit in my stomach. Maybe it's probably better that I don't remember.
Good morning, Baruthia. Who's the good kitty?
She's so cute.
Are you hungry? Is that why you woke me up?
A content purr comes from my sweet dear before she jumps off the bed and trots toward the kitchen. On the other hand, it takes me a bit more before I roll out of bed and start my day. Mornings before work is always a quiet affair. Shower first, then a mug of coffee and a bowl of oats. Sometimes I do stretches, and I always check my work email. The Wrights will be moving into the mansion today. I don't think the paperwork is officially done yet, but it isn't too far-fetched to think they were allowed to start their move despite that. Rich people like them will always find ways to get what they want, after all.
I'll be leaving you again today, Beth. So you behave and make sure not to shred up my new covers, okay? And don't worry, I didn't forget tomorrow is Black Cat Day, so I'll throw you a party.
Oh.
But
Only if you behave like a proper lady.
She barely gives me a glance as I say that before going back to her own food. Cats. Still better than humans most of the time. Too bad I have to work with humans. The place is already busy as soon as I get there. The foreman, one that I've recommended to the Rice for his work ethic, is early as usual. Already he's instructing men here and there with the bigger loads. I have no chance to talk to him as Mrs. Wright appears and greets me with a smile.
Mrs. Wright, I hope everything has been to your liking thus far.
Good morning, Marianne. It has been delightful, and these men have been very helpful. Look at all this. It's so busy here. I'm getting tired just looking at them go.
No complications so far with the movers or the previous owners of the mansion, I hope?
If anything, the only one being problematic is Luke, if I'm to be honest. He can be such a diva, but I do like that about him.
She stops, looking up at the upper landing where Mr. Wright comes through with two other movers and the mirror from the study.
Oh, do be careful with that mirror. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt because of broken glass.
Symbolism, reaching back to the dream. Mirror, broken glass.
Why are you even having it carried around?
Oh? You did say you didn't want the mirror, and I keep getting distracted by it. If I'm going to turn the study into my office, I'd rather not have it there. Where can we put this?
Well, you are not putting it in our room. Why don't you go, I don't know, put it in the wine cellar for now? We can figure out if we'll store it in the attic or somewhere else later, yes?
You heard her, boys. To the cellar it goes. Mush!
Who says that? Movers bring down the mirror one step at a time, no matter how much the man tells them to hurry. An unsettling feeling grows in my stomach as I see a reflection in the bloody thing. See, that's the same mirror before where, who was it? Was it Hannah who saw the girl in it? That's the mirror from my dream. Mrs. Wright only shakes her head and laughs at her husband's antics as they take the mirror out of here. He's back and at it soon enough, pointing the men here and there. I'd say he's the man with the plan, but it sort of interferes with the layout and design that we've agreed upon before. I'm about to point it out, but...
It's better you let him realize his mistakes on his own, rather than tell him of them. That way you do not get blamed for his actions. It is more fun, too, to tell him, how does they say it? I told you so, once he slips up.
Been working with him long enough to know that, huh?
It's not like I plan to make too much of a fuss, unless what he changes is actually crucial.
It happens often enough, when one is made to accompany him nearly all hours of the day.
Up, higher. Come on now.
Still, he could at least be less pushy about things.
Careful now. I know your pictures are framed by cheap plastic, but those are framed by African blackwood and are one-of-a-kind commissioned paintings. Each one is easily worth a lifetime of what you lot make.
It is surprising how hands-on he is compared to my usual clientele. Well, the both of them are, actually. It's refreshing to have them participate despite their initial reluctance.
Luke, do the dishwashers go into the kitchen or the butler's pantry?
Pantry, Buttercup. Careful, that's Emma. No, you there, put that down. You do not manhandle a Napoleon Abreva.
He really needs to tone down the dramatics a notch. Mrs. Wright and the butler look like they're used to it by now. But the rest of us, well...
Sweetie, why don't we go and sort your suits upstairs? Let your Hans and Marianne and the foreman deal with the rest of the work.
We have this, Mrs. Wright.
Yes, please do go before a blood vessel bursts. Bloodstains are so troublesome to clean.
True that. There's an obvious sense of relief as Mr. Wright is dragged out of the room, leaving the movers to do their work in peace. Some grumbling even comes from some of the younger workers. It's a good thing the family butler isn't some blindly loyal tool to his boss, or there will be trouble with Mr. Wright.
He is such a bratwurst. Whiny baby who never got enough hugs from his mutter.
Probably lost in translation, and not that I'm condoning talking about someone else behind their back, but I think you meant to call Mr. Wright a horrible brat.
Well, here's that too. There are a lot of things I can call him, but I mean to say that he is a big weenie. A childish name for a childish person. Like a child, he whines when he doesn't get what he wants, and he breaks the toys that he has.
That gets a laugh from me, as well as a few of the movers who linger near. He and I carry boxes, instructing the movers where they should be and generally taking over Mr. Wright's work. It goes off without a hitch, and the man is helpful, efficient, and capable of physical labor, despite his clean-cut appearance. A gentleman to boot, taking boxes for me when he sees me struggling with them. Speaking of boxes...
Hey, one of the boxes for the kitchen is missing. Has anyone seen it? The one with the pots and the knives.
The Bratwurst had it brought upstairs, thinking it was for the attic.
Why would he... Oh, never mind. I'll go get it.
The ghost is gonna be up there. Why even bring a box of pots and knives to the attic? That man is ridiculous. There's probably no point in making sense of what he does if he does them just because he can. It's true. At least it turns out that I don't have to make it all the way up to the attic. The mover, probably on Mr. Wright's orders, left the box on the stairs.
At least it's not that heavy.
I managed to hoist it up without too much effort. But the time it takes for me to do that is long enough for me to overhear an odd conversation I could never in my life imagine coming from a couple like the Wrights. Ovs. Hear that, Teddy? Yeah! Yeah, you get him, Teddy. For once, I'll have to agree with Whiskey on this one, though I can live with Mrs. Wright being a dog person. But as amusing as this conversation might get, I really shouldn't be caught eavesdropping or slacking off on the job. At most, I should be looking at ways of possibly soundproofing certain rooms, perhaps bringing it up if they don't realize the lack of it. I really should... I'm gonna keep listening. I don't usually care for the private affairs of my clients. As I consider if I should lurk a little longer, I miss what else was said. All I know is that the topic has somehow moved from pets to children. The regret sinks in fast. Why can't I just keep to myself and mind my own business like I usually do, of all the times to be curious? Lorraine, bless her soul, once told me that there are 3 things I shouldn't do unless I want to be on the shit list of the social elites. First, don't mess with their livelihood. Whatever business they have that made them and keeps them rich is something they need to protect. Whether it's some multi-million company or some sort of state secret, they keep that close to their chest. Businesses that challenge legal matters and moral issues aside, unless they profited from criminal conduct, it's best to steer away and avoid being their competition. Second, don't mess with their affairs, especially the married sort. It's messy business just to even gossip about it. And worse, to actually be the other woman. I'm towing the line with this rule as it is because of Whiskey. And the third thing?
Of all the times to be as sharp as a beach ball and as slow as a sloth, Marianne.
Well, the third thing rings true for just about anyone, really. Don't mess with their family. Of course, she used the word mess quite loosely. And I think what I'm doing now falls under multiple definitions it could take. Listening to this, something so undoubtedly private, is a great way to get in trouble. Oh yeah, because she is pregnant. She knows she's pregnant at this point, so... I walk away as far and as fast as I can while still carrying the box until I'm a good distance off in the foyer. I even risk my neck, taking the steps down 2 at a time before quickly handing off the kitchenware to Johans.
You really shouldn't run down those stairs. You might slip and break your neck. And that isn't a pretty way to go.
I'll keep that in mind, thanks.
Shut up.
Anything to happen to my pretty neck. Why do you think I wear a scarf?
Because they're comfortable. Other than that, they're still serious choking hazards. You might be wearing your own noose.
Cut the morbid stuff and let's get these things where they belong.
My kitchen, my rules. If you have somewhere else to go, which I'm sure you have, you may leave the area to me.
Well, I still have to check a few things there, if you don't mind.
How many times do you need to check every room? Are you sure you're not just looking for this secret recipe of my Kirby soup? Because I'll have you know, it is all in my head.
I like to be thorough with my work. I'm sure you understand.
That was a sassy tone. He shrugs as we enter the kitchen. The box is quickly placed on one of the countertops, and he sets to work quietly. Occasionally, he would ask me to take one thing or another and place it someplace else, but for the most part, I'm left thinking about what I just heard. That talk of children and Mrs. Wright's insistence on getting that room. Could it be? No, she doesn't look it, but of course it could just be too early to show. And if she is, does Whiskey know? It really didn't sound like it. What do I care, though? Oh, aside from the fact that I may be working with a pregnant woman who will have a baby in the near future, this place isn't exactly up to modern safety standards. The slightest possibility that this might be the case only makes me worry. I'll have to do a better job than what I usually do. The movers work efficiently, even when they're left alone, and they do quick work of their responsibilities. The head foreman comes, standing in the doorway, to consult me on this or that, and I have to go help out every now and then. But they pretty much have everything up to standards. They skip lunch entirely, not even realizing when they do so. Nevertheless, all is well as the butler gets to heating up the leftover bubble and squeak from breakfast, and makes a generous batch of fish and chips for them. Most likely simple in comparison to what he serves to the Wrights, but well done nonetheless.
That smells good. Want to wrap up some for me to go?
It's an idle observation more than anything. My thoughts, as they are, preoccupy me.
If there are any left, one can't go wrong with fish and chips. Everyone loves them. Even my husband. And he's American.
I really do hate getting so up close and personal with my clients. It's a distraction. It's obvious to me that I've got my priorities all wrong when I can't help but think about what I heard, what I learned about the Wright couple. These things have a way of creeping up on a person. Thoughts, ideas, whether they are fact or fiction. They creep up and fester, crawl and writhe in a way that twists. I hear giggling, delighted and mocking. They creep up and sensation of fingers ghosting briefly on my arm causes me to freeze and hiss.
Don't!
I half expect her to be there.
Whoa, no need to scream bloody murder. It's just me. Quiet down before you break glass.
What a dick. But it's just whiskey.
Don't do that again. Ever.
I don't like being scared, though I don't believe in the likes of spooks. Being startled is not on top of the list of things MARIANNE liked. Lucky for him, I have nothing within reach, or he would have gotten on friendly terms with something, like a rolling pin.
What was with that reaction? Were you really scared? Has Johann's been telling you ghost stories? He just loves to scare people. Isn't that right, Brother Graham?
The butler's expression is unreadable. I hardly see any emotion on his face to begin with since I started working for the Wrights, aside from vague amusement. There must have been something there, though, judging from Mr. Wright's own content look. The expression on Mr. Wright's face is almost cruel. But neither of them spoke, even as Johann leaves the room to serve the workers their late lunch.
So, now that we're alone, Marianne, what are you so jumpy for?
I was just thinking about all the urban legends the movers have been telling me about this place.
Don't tell me you believe in that tosh. They're nothing but tales made up to scare children. Timmy, Billy, don't you dare go up to that big mansion and get in trouble there. The ghosts are going to get you.
That's a boring way to look at it, but that's usually what it is anyway, no? Like I said, I was just thinking.
It would be a relief, actually, if those rumors of this place being haunted is true. That just means I'm not going bonkers. Hearing, let alone seeing, a dead person isn't exactly a symptom of a healthy mind. Sure, it means there would be such things as ghouls and goblins, but at least I'd be sane. On the other hand, there would actually be a dead girl walking around.
If you could excuse the inane question, Mr. Wright, you haven't noticed anything weird here?
A simple enough question on the surface, yet I notice the man stiffen as the question leaves my mouth. I wouldn't have noticed it if I wasn't watching his reaction intently, but in his eyes I see something dangerous.
That depends on your definition of the word weird. Are we still on the topic of this place being haunted? Because no, things have not started to fly around and we have yet to require an exorcism. I don't think my head would like to do the whole 180-degree turn thing.
Well, maybe that, but no strange people?
Aside from my usually weird butler and all the weird men traipsing around touching my things? No, not really.
You hired them, you douche!
Why do you ask? Have you noticed anyone strange while you were here? Because you must report it to Johann's and he'll have security handle it.
Which is probably also Johann's.
But these reports better not be about ghosts and things that go bump in the night. I don't want to waste manpower on the boogeyman or senseless witch hunts.
I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Wright. But no, it's nothing like that. I guess the mansion is just strange for me. It's a unique project.
No strange men or women lurking about then?
A dead teenager would technically qualify as strange. But yeah, the whole I see dead people thing isn't going to go over well.
Not that I know of. But I'll inform Johann's immediately if something comes up.
I'm serious, Mint. You see anything, anyone suspicious, and you report it. immediately.
Why does he keep... Ellie, did you come to say hello? Hi, baby girl. Mwah!
I think that goes without saying.
The concern he has on the talk of security is quickly gone. His arrogant, smug smirk returns, if a bit subdued. Whatever smarmy remark or innuendo he has at the ready never comes, though, as voices from the dining hall ring out. It's Zach! That would be the magazine photographer, I presume. As always, Mrs. Wright talks in such a kind and cheery fashion no matter who she's talking with. It certainly puts people at ease around her. Sounds like it's working on the photographer, too. Hearing them, though, seems to put Mr. Wright in a sour mood. At least if his small scowl is anything to go by. Is he jealous? Well, he shouldn't be because he's the one cheating on his wife. So, try to lighten the mood.
You're not going to go out there and join Mrs. Wright? You're starting to look strained. If you want your picture taken so badly, I'm sure the photographer would oblige.
Documentaries mostly, but cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on the thing, actually.
We need to get you away from the butler. You're starting to sound like him. No, I'm not joining Hana for an interior design magazine photo. What am I, a piece of furniture?
I mean, kinda.
Look, did a lot of you have anything else crucial to do today? Marianne?
There are still some little things to do. It isn't the end of the day yet.
Yes, but you're paid hourly, aren't you? Per day? Really, I don't care. You and the others can just take off for the day.
Why is he dismissing us early all of a sudden? Is this about the possible security threat? Did my question get him all worried and paranoid that he would just send the workers and I away? I realize that threats are of actual concern to these rich and powerful people. I imagine, whether anyone wants to or not, they get a few enemies here and there. But I'm sure the foreman and his workers can be trusted and are of no threat. Well, at least I trust the people I'm working with. I understand if he doesn't. He doesn't know them from a can of paint. Still, won't it be safer if there are people around who can watch their back?
You're the boss. My being paid by the day aside, I won't be held responsible for any significant delay caused by your decisions. I'll try to get around that, of course, but I'll just remind you of the fact.
Whatever. Take forever with the house. I don't give a bloody damn. Don't you worry, you're still getting your money. Just sod off. Go crawl around a pub and find yourself a good lay.
Paranoid or aggravated as he might be, this conversation certainly didn't have to warrant that sort of remark.
Maybe I will.
Yeah. Walking out of the kitchen, I just accept the fact that whatever he says will go well under his roof. Mrs. Wright and the photographer are still far too busy in conversation to notice me, even as I make my way through the dining hall. Besides, I didn't want to ruin their fun.
Well, it wasn't really a big thing. People didn't like Blue Fonzie very much.
People don't like a film about colors. I suppose they would have liked Blue Bibby a lot more.
Going to the foyer has me stumble upon the family butler once more, who raises a brow at my presence.
And where are you off to in a hurry, Miss McCulloch? The foreman is looking for you.
The bratwurst wants us off the clock. He's dismissing us early because of... Oh, I don't know. He just wants us out of here.
I'll go and call a cab for you then. It would be for the best that you leave when he asks you to.
I don't doubt it. My ride back to the city doesn't take too long to get here. Granted, there were some difficulties at first because the driver didn't know where the Ermengarde mansion is. He tried to have us hand over GPS coordinates from our smartphones or some other technobabble I didn't care about, and the butler didn't understand. But as soon as we told him it's the haunted mansion over in Anslem Village, he knew just the place, and finally headed over, albeit with some hesitation. All the way back to the city, the driver keeps complaining about that place giving him the willies. It gives me willies, too. I would have loved to snap at him. But as soon as the thought occurs to me, another blossoms in the forefront of my mind. One that has somehow bothered me greatly, more than my exasperation over whiskey in this project, or wanting all of it to stop. There has been no Lorraine whispering over my ears today. Worse, I find myself searching for it. Searching for her. I don't know, Irish. Loose ends. Fucking bloody loose ends everywhere. I thought I've already moved past this years ago, and it does nothing to help me curb my frustration. If anything, it only ensures that I want a stiff drink. And where else do I go to drink? Tuesdays are for karaoke, and Wednesdays, improv. Usually it's these four guys who did hilarious games. The one with Irish drinking songs are always a crowd favorite. Though I love a good laugh, stand-up comedy isn't my thing. And without Cam or Haruna or any other distractions, I end up drinking a lot more this time. And when there's several bottles of beer in me, I get really, really embarrassing.
Hey! G! Psst! G, come over here. I need you for something.
It's a good thing that the bartender is a nice fellow. I'd probably have been kicked out of other places by now, or worse. If push comes to shove, all he would do is give me an easy smile and a shake of his head, even when he's attending to other customers. Just like now.
Give me a moment, will ya? I gotta go check on her.
He's some Asian guy, and I'm pretty sure I've seen him here before a couple of times, though he never talks to anyone else except G. The girls used to be all over him too, but he always turned them away.
I'll be here. You go do that.
Asian Joe? Really?
All right. What is it?
It's literally the exact same sprite and voice of the rich guy, but okay. I see you.
Do you need someone to help you get home?
Bartender, pour the wine.
I think that's enough alcohol for you, little missy. I'm cutting you off.
A whine comes to the back of my throat as he pulls my bottle away. I have no hope of getting them back once they're behind the counter. Even in my drunken mind, I don't dare hop over it for them. Because what little sense I have left knows I'd sooner take a floor dive than succeed in wresting a bottle from a sober man. But that doesn't stop me from trying to reach out with my arms like a stupid idiot anyway. He smiles and shakes his head, just like I know he would, before going back to the other guy.
Right now, where were we? How you holding up, boy?
With no drink and no one to really chat with, I would have gone home, or gone to sleep on the bar right there and then. But I'm not ready to stand up and try to trek back home just yet.
Same old. I'm still on the Luxborn firm case.
Those blokes they talk about being in dark suits, whisking people into the night or some shit and all that. Didn't the media call it some ridiculous name in the morning news?
What is it this time? Wait, don't answer that. They've called it a lot of things. As long as people don't start running around claiming they're the Illuminati. So, what have you got for me this time, G? Anything good?
Slow down there. You haven't even told me what sort of deal and dosh we got. Who are you looking into this time?
Their talk would have interested me, would have kept my attention if I gave a damn. But in my current state, I can barely give two fucks about the things going on around me. All these words are just buzzing, barely surfacing from the sea of sounds that is a pub. And it would have stayed that way, perhaps even drowned, if I didn't hear his name.
Luke Wright. You know the guy. And don't pretend like you don't, G. It takes a special kind of ignorant not to know who he is.
That smug blonde who likes throwing round his money. He was just here a few days ago, as a matter of fact. Great tipper, if you're thinking just dumping a wad of cash on the counter after having too much whiskey counts as tipping. Why are you asking? He dirty?
You have no idea, G. He's probably the worst sort you can imagine.
Luke fucking Wright. Fucking whiskey. Even without him around, I'm still hearing about the guy. What the absolute fuck? Despite this, I find myself getting up and sauntering over to join them before I pipe up.
Is this smart talk about Luke fucking Wright I'm hearing, eh?
Private conversation here, lady.
There's only amusement on G's face. The Asian guy, he starts to look ticked off as hell.
Don't worry, Holmes. She's clean. And she might be able to help you with your, predicament.
Of course. Our drunks just stumbled through here with what I need. Get real, G. No offense, lady, but you're smashed.
I know, right? Nothing beats being drunk after a hard day's work. Especially when you're working for Mr. Luke Wright.
So, she works for the guy? Doesn't that make her, I don't know, suspect?
See, have a little faith in me, why don't ya? I don't have much, and you might as well have something to go off. You're the one who was so desperate to come running to me for business.
Yoo-hoo! Still right here, fellas. 5'11". Can't miss me. Unlike Shorty over here. What's with that mad look? You want to dance, boy? You don't look like you can bust a groove. Maybe a leg, but with that fancy coat of yours.
To add insult to injury, I move directly behind him and use the top of his head as an armrest. But when he shakes me off, I plop into the seat right next to him.
Don't try me. You can hardly stay on your feet. We don't want to ruin your fancy coat, do we?
Children, the both of ya. But you're still standing after all that, are ya? Matt, you see this giantess? She's a legendary regular here. Been drinking like there's no tomorrow. I'm a bit jealous. Can't do that anymore or my liver will give out on me. Do with the mic, too. Don't see you much recently, but I guess you're always busy, aren't you? You're some fancy designer or something, if I remember correctly.
Wait, I know you. You were at the open house for the mansion.
Yeah, that's right. Marianne I'm a famous interior designer extraordinaire. Ooh, that rhymes.
It really doesn't, but okay.
Anyway, you guys were talking about that weenie Luke Wright, right?
Or something. Can't really talk about it. I don't even know if I can trust you. Even if G said you're clean. But anything would be of help.
I don't gossip about my clients, if that's all there is to this.
You wanted to gossip about him a few minutes ago, Marianne.
And that was the beer talking, not Marianne.
You won't mind if we ask the a few questions then?
Maybe. Depends on who's asking and what they're asking. How dare that sleazy wanker treat me like I'm a piece of furniture?
And by wanker, you mean Luke Wright.
Yes, Luke Wright. I just said that. He's Kultona Kranze. Completely different from his bitty wife. And Annie? Hannah? Anna! I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing something dirty behind her back. Even bought him a mansion. Lucky bastard.
So it was the wife who bought the place.
Are you going to repeat everything I say? Yes, it was the pretty one. The one with the long hair. She bought the place. Sort of.
With how drunk you are, I don't even know if you're aware or sure of what you're saying.
Excuse you? I am at least 350,000% sure that I know what I am saying. I am a professional. I'm totally sure of what I'm saying. Do you think just because I'm drunk I don't remember facts? I remember everything. I remember every little thing as if it only happened yesterday. I bet you don't remember young McGurn's full name.
What?
Of course you don't. Here we go. John William, pure mad, mental inte, Yoda body, Simpson Clay, Gimel Chip, the Bam, Rib Racker, no real young rebel, ya best Saint John McGurn.
What?
See? I have a photographic memory. Or read memory. I don't remember which is which.
Back to the wanker. Nothing off about him or anything? Nothing shady that sets the alarm bells in your head?
Alarm bells? Nothing ringing. Maybe someone's mobile is. I'm getting tired. Enough for me to press my cheek against the cool countertop with my eyes shut tight. Eventually cracking one eye open, just in case they thought I fell asleep, I grin at Holmes.
Aside from being a sleazy piece of shit, he did get all in a tizzy whenever something about security came up.
Makes sense. I don't blame the guy. Place that big, you'll need a couple dozen people stationed around if you want to make sure nobody you don't want gets in. And the guy seems like the type that doesn't like too many people.
Oh, but he does like the ladies. I don't think his mommy hugged him enough or anything.
These are serious questions, Marianne. Lives might just be at stake here.
What do you expect? She's smashed.
Why am I even doing this? This is getting me nowhere, G. She's not a reliable source. The chief, let alone the courts, aren't going to take the word of a drunk. This'll be dismissed, and I might be in trouble if they try to argue that I coerced a testimony out of her. This is a fucking train wreck.
You're a fucking train wreck now, if you ask me. Maybe it's about time you apply the brakes and stop for a bit.
The wave of despair that comes over the both of them is palpable. If feelings had a taste, it'd be bitterer than the beer I'm full of. And it gets me thinking. The thinking doesn't get me far with too much shite in my system.
You know that's not an option. Thanks for being patient, McCullough. Good luck with your work on that mansion.
Speaking of that mansion, there's something going on in that place. Something. As day. No wonder Mr. Wright likes it so much. It's as fishy as he is. Rotten bloke. Maybe that Santos girl is really onto something, eh? Suspicious shite, I'm telling you. Explains why she's so reluctant.
What do you mean that Santos girl is onto something?
Before I get another word out, there's hands on my shoulders and everything starts to spin. I quickly slap his hands away the best I can and send him the foulest look I can muster.
Take your hands off me, pipsqueak. I'm not a lady who's shaken or stirred unless you want me up chucking on your pretty hair. Damaged or deaf? Santos girl from VRC showed us this creepy letter. You know, just like those spam stuff you get in your emails. and we thought it was some joke or that the girl was just a bit too green to handle a big sale like that. You should have seen the look on their faces when they saw it. Whiskey? That's Luke fucking right, you get me? And the missus didn't look too happy either. I should have taken a picture and posted it everywhere.
Jesus.
Rich snobs give you that face? No wonder the Santos girl went all mental on us. Working with them does that, you know? I think I'm about to. I'm not mental yet, am I? Anyway, just like I said, in that man... Hey, you okay? Holmes? You're looking a bit shaky yourself there.
And he really is pale. Paler than before, at least. I can see those gears turning in his head on overtime. Suddenly, he shoves a card in my hand. On it, his name, Ashton Frey, and his number. But he has second thoughts as he grabs it from me and slips it into my pocket.
You're cute, pretty boy. But I prefer blondies.
Well, you're not exactly my type either, lady. But listen to me. If something comes up, don't do anything rash. If you think you're in danger or if you see anything suspicious, call me and the authorities as soon as possible. You understand me? That's 99...
I know what the damn emergency number is.
Right, 999. Good. Anyway, I have to run. See you, G.
The guy's quick on his feet, already up and at him as soon as the number leaves his lips. Watching him as he maneuvers through the crowd of other pubgoers is enough to tire me out. Fast as he can, he's at the door and throws us a smile, and that's all we get before he's gone, just like that.
Boy, what about your drink, boy? I'll go put it on your tab then.
Holmes boy always like that, G?
Pretty much. But what about you? I suppose I'll put your drinks on your tab too. Don't want you to spill your wallets when you look like you're close to spilling yourself.
Yeah, and if it's fine by you, I think I'll go take a bit of a cat nap here. Just for a sec or two.
Go right ahead. I'll wake you when I close up shop.
Mumbling a sleepy thanks, I doze off on the spot, face pressed on the counter. Already, I dread the pain I'll have for sleeping in such a position. But when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie? Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is.
Not that I can get much sleep to begin with. Do people ever have the feeling that they're working on something they really enjoy, but still it eventually tires them out? Because honestly, I've been feeling like this.
You have certainly exceeded expectations, Marianne. Everything looks so marvelous, and in such a short time, too.
Oh, well, I try. Thanks. The moments like these make all the hard work worth it. Definitely.
Can't take all the credit. People have certainly been enthusiastic about the idea of working on the Wright mansion. There won't be any more problems unless Mr. Wright has any more objections about the second bedroom.
Oh, no. We proceed with that room as planned. I already agreed to him having his greenhouse and his vineyard and his stables. He may as well let me have this one thing.
We're only about halfway done, but the honest satisfaction on a client's face is enough for me to push through. Let's face it, in between my exasperation at Mr. Wright's antics and her, I've been burning the candles at both ends. I can't even close my eyes without seeing a dead girl's face. Dead girl. Dead. She's dead. I have to keep reminding myself that, burying my feelings as deep as they buried her body, 6 feet under. I shouldn't waste so much time on someone who's supposed to be gone. I've wasted so many years thinking about her already. There should be no need to bother myself with the dead when I should be bothering myself with the living. Too bad the living are usually as complicated, if not more, than ghosts of the past.
But don't you have a party?
Yes. But Luke's just being a sweetie, you see. That friend he's visiting. He's having marital problems, and he's just trying to cheer him up.
It's even more complicated when the living in question is a pair of rich and famous socialites way past their honeymoon phase. And I've been somehow roped into being a relationship counselor.
They've been married for a long time, and they've hit how do they say it? A rough patch. His wife has a drinking problem and can be very neglectful. The poor thing really does his best to be a good husband, but it's never enough for her. Sometimes I think it's the years. Maybe it's been so long that they've lost that romantic spark. What do you think?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I need to ask. This is about you and Mr. Wright, isn't it?
Suppose it is. What would you tell me?
Then, I tell you it's none of my business. I tell you that I don't want to meddle. But If the troubled husband with the neglectful wife asked me for my honest opinion, I'd say that he shouldn't base his happiness and his self-worth on someone else. Maybe he should try being independent for a while. See what it's like when he isn't trying to please someone else and doing things for himself. Everyone's supposed to be their own man or woman, right? A bit of breathing room never hurt anyone. We shouldn't let our fear control our lives.
See, it's interesting because, like, this was already part of Hannah's chapter, but, you know, from Marianne's side, knowing what we know, it has, like, a totally different context. It's really cool. Why she thinks a single woman like me would be the best source of relationship advice is beyond me. Still, I talk and answer to the best of my abilities. Without realizing it, I'm already pouring out a part of me that I had thought was long gone. I'd like to believe my words will be of some help to Miss Wright. If I'm honest, though, they're some help to me, like some weight has been taken off my shoulders. Lorraine.
I really should handle what's left of the work.
You won't be attending the party. Oh, you really must, Marianne.
The weight of what happened to her hasn't left me yet, did it? Maybe.
I'll try to stay in chat. Maybe grab a few bites and a drink, but I can't be around for the entirety of the event. My apologies. Busy, busy, busy.
You must stay a while. I'd love for you to meet some of my friends, and they're ever so excited to meet you. You need to say hello to the Lees, at least. If it wasn't for them, I'd never even heard of you.
Maybe it's about time I changed that.
We'll see. So, if I can be excused?
Certainly. You'll have to excuse me as well. I must attend to the party before any early birds arrive, because, believe me, they will throw a fuss if things aren't ready, even when they're not supposed to be here until an hour later.
Though I shouldn't dwell on the dead, I shouldn't just callously forget about them, too. Saying that I have work left to do is an easy enough excuse to make. I know how other people see me. They see someone so obsessed with her craft that she would so easily miss things like a party for it. Outside the parlor, people hurry about here and there in preparation for the Wright's grand housewarming party. I really thought there was going to be a but on that last part, but I guess not. None spare me a glance as I slip past them, each working on their appointed roles and not daring to slack off while they work for what is probably the most powerful couple in Luxburn. I make it into the kitchen with ease, the wine cellar being my final destination. But when is a great task ever simple? Probably never. And this is a great task, isn't it? My greatest one yet that is worthy of being called a quest. Ooh. I'm not acting as Marianne McCullough, the professional interior designer, when I chose to lie about being too busy for a party. I'm Marianne McCullough, a lawful neutral cleric with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in charisma. Just thinking of it like that makes it a bit cheesy, but it helps with the fear. It helps overcome the insane thought that I'm actively seeking out something that has been plaguing me for years. I might face my worst nightmare, or I might see nothing and find my self-imagined grand quest fall flat. And who would have thought that the gatekeeper to my final quest would be someone I thought would be a valuable ally?
Schnell! Hurry up, you snails! We are on a deadline and you are wasting my time!
The butler comes from the cellar and into the kitchen, tailed by a couple of others, people who I assume are most likely chefs and bartenders. He raises a brow, seeing me just standing there by the hatch, by the trap door. It almost looks like he's going to throw me out for being in the kitchen without permission. But then he motions for the others to disperse and familiarize themselves with their surroundings. Meanwhile, he continues to stand there, preventing entry into the darkness beyond.
What are you doing here, Fraulein? This is not the place for guests or inner architects right now. I request you leave.
I was just looking around for any last-minute things, yes?
Yes, you have been doing that a lot. Looking around, snooping about. Now is not the time for such things. If you're not careful, people might think you are up to something.
The look he gives me as he says this is almost chilling. If life was a gamebook, he'd probably be the true neutral warlock guarding the treasure room. A difficult opponent to beat with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in dexterity.
Well, I'm not done yet. I actually need to go into the wine cellar. Just need a quick go at the place. So, just don't mind me. I'll be out of your hair soon enough.
Go outside. Enjoy the party. Bask in the praise and adulation they will no doubt shower you with when the madam speaks highly of you. Surely you've had enough of this stuffy old kitchen by now. You do not want to cause trouble. Both the Bratwurst and Hannah want this to be perfect. It would be a disservice and disrespect to toe out of line and risk it being anything otherwise. And more importantly, I will be blamed for any failure that happens tonight.
His intervention almost turns me away. Maybe this is a sign I'm not meant to seek Lorraine out. But...
Please, I just lost something the last time I was down there. It's really important.
15 minutes. 9. 10 minutes. Any longer and I'll pull you out of there myself. The Bratwurst would be furious if he thinks anyone is touching his precious find without his permission.
Shut up, Teddy.
Thank you. This seriously means a lot.
He steps aside begrudgingly. At this point, it looks like there's no turning back. The cellar greets me ominously as I descend. The space feels smaller, with a lot more bottles lining the wall compared to before, and knowing what might be waiting for me here makes things worse. I almost hope in a morbid and twisted sense that Lorraine would just be standing there, waiting for me. It would be just like her to joke about inappropriate meeting in the dark, secluded areas. But just like the broken bottles and wine that was spilled on the ground before, no trace of her can be found.
Lorraine! Where are you, Lorraine? I miss you, you know?
Only silence replies. Funny that when you want to find something, that's the time you can't. The thought that I wouldn't be able to see Lorraine one last time fills me with such despair. Sure, it was crazy to come here willingly in the first place, but all I'm really looking for is closure. And if I can't see her, the least I can do is offer her a prayer. On the verge of tears, I kneel in the middle of a dark, damp wine cellar and put my hands together in prayer.
May God grant her eternal rest.
That is when her laughter fills the air. It rings along the walls until it echoes in my head, and like a siren song, it draws me in before it comes to a stop upon reaching a dead end.
Ooh, could it be an adventure then? A secret passage? There must be a hidden switch somewhere. Go look. This is the most interesting thing you've done by far.
A secret entrance, though the idea in and of itself is insane, only makes this entire endeavor even more perilous, but I need to find a way to open it. Already, I'm running my hands against the wall in order to find some sort of hidden switch. It didn't give when I tried to push it open before, and I doubt that would have changed any time soon. But if there's a door, there's always a way to open it, hopefully without the need to break it down.
Shame I can't roll for perception checks in real life.
Such a silly thing to say out loud, though there's no amusement on my face. And I do check, glancing at the mirror from the study. Ugh, the mirror's there, ew.
Though a sanity check would be more fitting right now, wouldn't it?
I mean, how long have I been down here searching for the switch of a hidden door? In order to go find a dead girl, no less. It isn't only unreasonable, it's insane. At this point, they'll find me clawing at the walls, using my nails to try and see if there are any grooves or catches I might have missed. I'm surprised I haven't gone past the 10 minutes that was given to me, that I'm not being hauled out of here. I don't want to bank on the chance that I have more time, although I know I really shouldn't let these kinds of things bother me too much right now. If I don't continue looking, there's no point in me going down here. Dirt and rocks stick underneath my fingernails in my search, but there. A section of the wall about the size of my palm and just as well hidden in the hollow wall is a switch, or a button, rather.
Face it, Tigress. You've just hit the jackpot.
The excitement I feel at the discovery finds me pressing it without a second thought. When a click echoes in the cellar and the hidden door creaks open, I stop. What should I do? Obviously go in! No time like the present, eh? I have to hurry and... I turn around when there's a crash. In my haste, I bumped into the mirror, making it fall to the ground and shatter in 100 pieces. Oh no! And shit, I hope that isn't an original piece. I don't think my insurance will be able to cover it. I could probably find an imitation to replace it, and... The door slams shut behind me, and I nearly have a heart attack because of it. When I see a much more visible lever on this side, I calm down and shake my head. On the other side is a passageway, an underground tunnel that has me mystified for a mere moment until I realize what it holds. Cells closed off by heavy iron bars line the sides. A general sense of death and decay lingers heavy, though the years should have taken away most, if not all, of the stench. Of the foul smell of humans and corpses alike being left to rot. The breeze, most likely coming from the other end of the passage that goes through, is to thank for that. If the place had been enclosed like a mausoleum, I imagine the odor would be fouler than it is now.
Dear Lord in St. Adelaide, bless these poor souls.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Though the architecture of their time was magnificent, human rights wasn't exactly a big thing back then. And if the Ermengarde mansion had a place like this hidden away, who knows what sorts of heinous acts were done down here. There's no time to dwell on it further, though. Not when... Oh no, 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 no. A ghastly thing, a corpse of a woman, leans on the wall. Her arms and limbs, almost every inch of her lithe body, are peppered with wounds and rotting flesh. And it is then that the putrid smell of blood and gore hits me, making it so that I don't even question how I missed it in the first place.
How long has this been here? Oh, that smell. Oh, you're a nasty one, aren't you?
I flinch as the thing twitches. No, 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 no. And as soon as it opens its eyes and looks at me with a smile, there's nothing on my mind but horror. I break into a run. I try to keep on running no matter how much my legs and feet scream at me to stop. I keep going even when I look back and see nothing of her anymore because I can still hear her. The scampering of her feet, the words she tries to form with her bloodied mouth, and the painful sounds of bones grinding against each other as she moves closer and closer to me.
How long are these damn tunnels?
There's a split second where I know that thing is right behind me, strange sensation creeping over my limbs when her presence looms over me. And then suddenly, I can't even do anything before I'm yanked by the hair and pulled back. Still, I struggle, up until I'm thrown to the side like some rag doll. I hit the ground on my side, and the musty smell of old hay that reaches me is my only indication that I'm still alive.
Please don't hurt me.
My body hurts and I keep my eyes shut tight, afraid of what might happen next.
What's wrong, Marianne? Are you really afraid of little old me?
There's a flash of hope. She can help me, save me from that thing. But as I see her smile, the same one that thing has, I know then that this isn't Lorraine. I'm a fool to think so in the first place. It never could have been her to begin with. The real Lorraine is dead. She looms over me, backs me further in the cell that I was thrown in.
What are you?
Lorraine turns and shifts into that thing from before. And with that same gruesome grin, it takes a step forward towards the cell. Towards me. I barely scramble to my knees when the door to the cell slams shut, and it just stands there, staring. Shouts for help ring out in the tunnels, but none of them are coming from me. I'm more paralyzed and shocked by what is happening. My throat tightens at being fooled by the image of Lorraine, at the thought of being trapped down here. So then, where?
Help me! Oh, help me! Are you getting all this on camera, Carl?
Wait, how is...
Yeah, but are you sure this is a good idea? We're breaking and entering here. Don't worry, the owners of this place haven't been here in a long time. Look at this thing, though. It has writing in blood like some cheesy 80s horror prop. Wait, I have an idea. Oh man, that's genius.
What kind of butthead would even take this thing seriously? Maybe we can stick this in Rowan's backpack. That's Laura's kid would panic.
Guys? What? Spit it out. Behind you!
There, in the corner of the cell, a digital camera comes flickering to life and a video is played back on the screen. It was hard to even consider paying attention to it when my life is on the line. Ugh. When the ghost doesn't move and the teenagers' mocking shouts of "help me" filled the cell, I just had to watch. And what I had seen, students judging by their St. Goretti uniforms. They were holding...
The letter.
And that thing, the woman, she... Okay, well that's the end of Marianne's chapter. So it looks like things are getting even creepier than before. That's really interesting. I really like the background that's been provided on Marianne so far. Like before, she was kind of like a weird stony character who we didn't really know too much about, and she was very distant. And now there's like a lot more character to her, I guess. But I really enjoyed this. And after this, we will only have a couple more chapters to go, and then we'll be done with the story. And it's weird. I feel like I've been doing this for forever, and I'm like not even halfway through. I keep saying that, but yeah, I'm really excited to see how this story turns out. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.